Hello, my name is Jeremy Ousey, and this is a public response to resolution number 5 of the Royal College of Podiatry's 2022 AGM. My name is on there, but it's not something that I support. Again, resolution 5 is not a resolution that I support. I have really been mulling this over for the last week or two, and I have to be authentic. This was not a resolution that I ever truly agreed to. I will say that I agreed to a version of it, but not this version. And for those of you who know me, which if you're seeing this, the likelihood is that you've seen it from a forum, and the likelihood is that you know that I like to speak before I've thought about what I'm going to say. I have been incredibly considered on this topic, so much so that I have a script. So when we were writing the resolution, I deleted the section which asked for an independent ballot. This was never something that I was particularly keen on, partly because it's not a thing. When it comes to going back on decisions that have been made, if you do that, that becomes a very, very slippery slope. But more importantly, I can see where the membership are coming from when they say that they feel like they weren't as included as they'd have liked to be. But I think that this is an incredibly good move for the podiatry profession in general. I did have track changes on when we were writing and rewriting the versions, and so I will post a screenshot here for anyone who wants to see that I did in fact delete it. The point that was about the independent ballot. For the sake of openness and honesty, and because, well, quite frankly, again, you won't be surprised that I am no politician, and I'm not entirely sure of what the usual process would be for challenging and changing a position formally, but I will be sharing my my version of the supporting notes, and you've already seen my version of the motion, and I will leave them on screen for the next 30 seconds, so if you want, press pause or rewind as it goes to move on. So I submitted my last version of that at 5:45 on the 4th of April, and it wasn't until 2:30 on the day of submission, i.e. the 5th of April, that the final version was given to us to read. I had a fully booked clinic, so I never actually got to check it, although I will say that I did agree in principle I would be happy to put my name down, but I never actually got to check the final version. Other versions had been done, and I fully intended to correct them if it seemed that my colleagues weren't going to change it, but sadly, they never actually put down the version that I had put forward. And I'd like to also share that my position would not be a surprise to them. The evening before submission, so on the 4th of April, at about 5 to 9, I sent a message to the group. Having re-looked at motion 3, I do not think it is in the interests of the membership to have final say on all associate memberships. I do think that having a structured set of requirements for any associate memberships would be appropriate, to just clarify, so not within the message. This was referring to the fact that I thought that any health professionals who wish to join, that would definitely be an appropriate thing, and I thought that for FHPs, having some sort of an exam, much like there is an exam required for the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow in their Faculty of Podiatric Medicine, I felt like having something rigorous to check the standards of the person joining the Royal College of Podiatry would be important. So back to my message. Otherwise, we run the risk of excluding individuals who would otherwise potentially contribute to the profession significantly, as well as negating the benefits of opening the membership up for associate members. Keep in mind, the purpose of accepting memberships is not for the protection of the public, but to encourage the development and improvement in those offering foot care, and to equally promote the profession and encourage people into it. So from the perspective of the origins of this particular motion, that's all that you need to know. But I have some other points that may be worth knowing. Since I am actually in favour, that is in favour, of associate memberships, and I am voting against Resolution 5. So given that the college did actually publish results of the surveys as well, let's look at them, as I'm not entirely convinced that anyone who has looked at them in any great detail and given them true consideration and is still against associate memberships in their current format has understood them. So when we're looking at the data that the Royal College of Podiatry have given us, currently they point out that podiatry assistants and orthotic technicians are the only people who are able to be associate members. So when we look at assistant practitioners and podiatry assistants, 81% of people are happy, 6% of people don't care, and 13% of people are not happy about their existence as associate members. But what I would like to look at is the role of different groups. So we take the students, and pretty much most students are very happy with assistant practitioners and podiatry assistants existing. All apprentices and all assistant practitioners are happy. Go figure. And then in the NHS, a pretty large number are also happy with their assistance of the APs as associate members. In independent practice, the number drops by about 10%, in fact just over, for those who are happy. And then we end up with double the number of people who are unsure and nearly double the number of people who are against assistant practitioners. The number of people who are happy are equally about the same for those who are in the NHS and independent practice. And the numbers are pretty similar in the not sure and not happy camps. But those who are in academia and research really do see their benefit. And bizarrely, the international podiatrists have a fairly significant proportion who either don't care or object, although the numbers are pretty low. We're talking about 9 people in total, so that's not a huge population, but they are still members of the College of Podiatry, so they get an equal say. When we then look at the orthotic technicians, students seem a bit less excited about their existence. Apprentices and assistant practitioners are happy. The NHS, a little bit unhappier. Independent practice, a little bit unhappier. The combined group, equally a little bit unhappier. And even in academia, there's a bit of uncertainty about the orthotic technicians. And then the internationals are, again, even unhappier with this as an option. But this is where it starts getting juicy. So the foot health practitioners who are SME trained, only 28% of people think that they could be an associate member, and 9% aren't sure, and that stays the same in both groups. But it drops by about 6%, so almost 25% of people are less excited, or 25% of the people who were excited to have FHPs from SME join aren't so happy now, and the number of those defects fairly decently to the unhappy in the other training routes for FHPs. But it's interesting, because we're okay with assistant practitioners and podiatry assistants, but we're not okay with the FHPs from SME. And I'm focusing on SME because SME are accredited. They're the only accredited foot health practitioner course, and to be a foot health practitioner gets something along the lines of the first year of the podiatry degree into their students. So, and we know this for a fact, and we know that this is accepted because the HCPC allow people to move up from FHP to podiatrist with the SME course as it stands, and so FHPs can progress onto the podiatry degree. So there is an acceptance and an acknowledgement from the HCPC, who also decide whether or not we're allowed to be podiatrists, and as a result if we should be members of the College of Podiatry. So I don't quite understand why we have an objection to the SME trained FHPs, other than the fact that they can technically work independently. But in order for them to work independently, they can't be a member of the College of Podiatry at the moment. They would have to be working under a podiatrist, as was said in Michelle Scott's video. So there seems to be this objection, and we kind of have a look at the numbers, and the NHS aren't happy, the independent practice lot definitely not happy, mixed group also unhappy, and academia and research even, they drop down a bit too. Although I would expect a lot of those who are in academia and research would know about the nearly equal training. So I do find this quite interesting. But then we also have objections with the health professionals. So we seem more okay, barely okay, but more okay, with those who are going to be dealing with wounds joining the College of Podiatry, but not those who are involved in MSK, which is a real shame, because podiatry is fairly nicely proven as a profession when it comes to wound care. However, we are still kind of cutting our teeth when it comes to showing ourselves as being specialists for MSK. And yes, certainly we do have podiatrists who are leading the way on this, but we're not quite there yet, and part of the reason for that is there's just not enough research that's happened in podiatry. And that's kind of what got flagged up in the Sachs report and a few other bits, is that podiatry just aren't out there enough. So we do seem to be objecting to anybody daring to come and see what we do and to share in our knowledge of what we're doing in MSK. But I mean, I am pleased to see that we're still okay with vascular and wound care being involved. So on that note, associate memberships will give more professionals access to clinical standards and pathways to ensure safe patient care. Widening associate membership will allow for better understanding of the podiatry profession amongst other professions. And well, let's talk about those two first. It's pretty split, pretty evenly split for the most part. Of about half of people are kind of okay with the two ideas there. Then, another chunk, bringing it up to about 65-ish%, just doing the math off the cuff there, are okay with showing what podiatrists do to other professions. But then when we look at allowing associate members to be involved in branch meetings, we start to say no. We've only got a 40% interest in doing that, and a 25, let's say, percent interest in people sharing in that knowledge with the branches. But here's the worst part: branches are dying. As a secretary of a branch, getting people to come along to our meetings is hard work, and people object to the branches not running enough stuff, but then equally don't show up to stuff. And this is not just my branch that has this issue. This is, from what I can tell, a national kind of issue. So why are we objecting to sharing this information and knowledge with these other professions at branch meetings? We then look at it from the case of trying to develop ourselves and develop those around us, and trying to make it so that the profession is less of a mystery. And only about 60% of people are happy to train or to encourage associates to go on and train as podiatrists. Why are we hiding podiatry from them? And what is it that we're aiming to do by doing this? It's tragic that we have a dwindling number of podiatrists, and the fact that we're in this situation of considering bringing associates into the profession is because Health Education England, and I think it's Public Health England, have identified that we have a gross shortage of people who can provide foot care. And so as a result, they've started acknowledging the role of FHPs and probably the independent sector too, independent practice sector, for being able to provide foot care, to avoid any upset here. And we're avoiding wanting to train these people up. If you're against them, and I get it if you are against them, but if you're against them, how are you going to sell your practice to, or who are you going to sell your practice to one day? Because if there's not enough podiatrists out there, and there's not enough people and there's not enough podiatrists to work for as well, because there's only so many people who are willing to set up a business and all that. Where are the podiatrists going to go, and why would they work for somebody else when they're not going to get the training and support? And we find it hard enough to find people to mentor or buddy us when it comes to podiatrists, and then when we look at the situation with whether podiatrists would be willing to mentor and buddy associate members, there's a large portion of us who are completely unwilling, and another significant portion of us who aren't too sure. I don't have a solution. I don't have any answers for this. I'm sort of this at this point. It's an open ramble, but we want to see the profession progress, but we want to remain in our own silo, and we want to see the public see us as the foot specialists. But then, if we are the foot specialists, then why don't we have any technicians working with us, for want of a better word? You go to the dentist when you've got a tooth problem and you go to the hygienist for a tidy up. But then when the dentist can't deal with the problem, you then go to the periodontist or the orthodontist or the maxillofacial surgeon. There needs to be progression upwards and downwards. Oh, well, not progression downwards, but there needs to be a route from the bottom up. And if we're not doing it now, who is going to do it? I mean, we are the Royal College of Podiatry, and if we are members of the Royal College of Podiatry, presumably it's because we like the services that it offers and we like the prestige that goes with it. Otherwise we would be members of other organisations. So if we're going to be staying in the Royal College of Podiatry, let's be the people who run the show when it comes to foot care. It's counterproductive and counterintuitive to not be trying to lead the way, and equally to be setting standards and making it so that we are improving foot care in general. When you look at modern marketing stuff, a lot of it goes into talking about giving away a lot for free. Obviously we don't want to be diagnosing things for free, but we want to be giving stuff away, and we want to be showing people that our resources are the best for feet. So why are we hiding it? What benefit is there truly to us hiding all this stuff? I can't see it. Help me, please. Comment below, comment on Facebook, comment wherever. Just know this: whilst yes, my name may be on resolution 5, my heart ain't in it.